Right. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Knockout 3.0. This is our sports quiz by IIT Patna, Quiz Club IIT Patna under Infinito 2022. Right. So I hope I'm audible. Right. Give me a thumbs up in the chat or something. The link to the G form is there in the chat. Hopefully, like everyone can register that. Okay. So yeah, thank you. So I'm audible to everyone. Let's move on to the questions. Right. This will be a normal written quiz. Right. 25 questions. So each question will have 10 points, right? So mark division will be mentioned in case like generally there would be equal division of points unless mentioned in the question, right? Mentioned differently in the question. So please fill in the answers in the G form only. Please do not type it in the G form chat. Please and please be very careful that you are not unmuted in the G form in the Google chat, right? And if unless you of course want to ask me something about the question or in case you have any doubt, right? Apart from that, when you're asking me any doubt, please be very discreet about it. Like you don't want to give all your fellow participants a hint, right? Of course. So keep that in mind while you are asking me something, and I'll be careful to give out hints as well, right? And we'll have a brief rerun, very brief rerun, because we have a very long quiz. So we'll have a very brief rerun at the end, and the G form will close after 1 minute after the rerun ends. Question 16 and 25, 16 to 25 are star mark questions, and they will be used to settle any ties. And of course, with any online quiz, please do not Google. It will lead straight to disqualification. Like we'll just find it's very easy. We'll have very many descriptive answers there. It's very easy to find out who is cheating and who is not. Like we'll just find one answer and we'll just highlight your red and you we won't even be bothering to check your answers, right? So keep that in mind. Please do not cheat, and it's a fairly easy quiz, so please like try to attempt. You can guess your way through it as well, like in case you don't know about it, right? So any doubts before we start with the quiz?
Are cams on mandatory?
Shashank, you want to say something?
Yeah. Do cameras need to be on?
You're not audible.
Do cameras need to be on?
Give me a moment. I think there's some problem with my end. Right. Can you repeat your doubt?
Yeah. Do cams need to be on?
No, we won't require any cams. Right? It's very difficult to monitor as well. But like we have kept the questions discrete enough, and there are many descriptive questions. So like it's very difficult to Google in this, unless like in descriptive questions it's very easy to catch anyone Googling. Right? That's it. So we'll keep that in mind. Right? Of course. Please do not Google, and no problem with the cams. You can keep them off. I'll keep it on, so like you'll have someone to see you with, of course. So let's start. Any other doubt? I see people raising their hands. In case no doubts, please put your hand out. I'm guessing no doubt. Okay.
Sorry, the questions aren't visible on the form right now.
The questions won't be visible in the form. They would be there in the this meet, and you just have to fill in the answers in the G form. Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other doubts? Okay, I don't see any other doubts. So let's go ahead. Let's start with the first question. Right. The first question: X was originally from baseball, but now has found its way into volleyball, football, and cricket. It works on the principle of minimizing the spin of the ball while moving in the air, causing an erratic, unpredictable motion. The airflow over a seam of the ball causes the ball to change from laminar to turbulent flow. This change adds a deflecting force to the baseball,
making it difficult for batters to hit, for goalkeepers to catch, for players to volley, and even for users to control. Right. To identify this technique, named after the body part used for its delivery, and whose masters include, but are not limited to, Juninho, Zaid Khan, and Eddie Seekert, who's attributed as one of the creators of it. Right. So you need to identify this technique that is like, very prevalent in many sports, originally from baseball, but has found its way to volleyball, football, and cricket as they're all ball sports, right? So it's a very famous technique, and you need to identify that, right? You're given the description of it, and let's. Uh, any doubts, you can go ahead and unmute in between, right? You just need to give me the technique. Right? So 10 more seconds on this question.
We have to directly fill it in the Google form, right?
Yep, you have to fill it in the Google form. There would be a blank for question number one. Just write your answer.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You just have to submit the Google form, and I'll prompt you at the end of the quiz. Right. Right. So let's move on to the next question. Right. So question number two. So this is one of the best underdog tale of all time. Man of War was a thoroughbred racehorse who is widely regarded as one of the greatest of all time. So in the early 1900s, at the time of Sanford Memorial Stakes, Man of War had never lost a race, while a horse named X had 100 to 1 odds. If you name a horse X, you are definitely hoping for it. And a Man of War was indeed beaten by X. Was this thus the beginning of the term X in the sport? Lexicographer Ben Zimmer clarified this matter once and for all in 2013. That he said that he had surveyed New York Times articles that used the word X, and it was clear that it was used well in before this. It was already in use in horse racing and in other sports such as baseball before it got famous in this 1919 incident, right? The race. So you need to identify the name of this very aptly named horse who might not have started a sporting lingo, but definitely popularized it. Right. So it's a very underdog tale. You need to right. So if you're naming him X, you're definitely hoping for it. Give me X that is same for the sporting term and the name of the horse. So 10 seconds on this question. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So we'll be moving on to question number three now. Question number three. You need to be prepared to play for Boca, said a club video said. We prepare the kids who will tomorrow be in the first team. We prepare them for the football and emotionally as well. Boca Juniors are one of the biggest teams in South America with some of the most passionate fans. They recently installed, this is not that recent now, like let's say a year back, right? So they installed a series of pneumatic devices under the pitches of their training ground, stating that they are necessary for the preparation for their youth team players. It helps them it helps them prepare for the unsettling feeling a young player might get while playing in front of their very active and ruckus crowd. So you need to identify what was the purpose of these pneumatic devices. Right. So South American football, very, very passionate fans there. So you need to identify like what was the purpose of these pneumatic devices? Why were they placed under the pitches, right, on the staging ground under the pitches? Right. 10 more seconds on this question. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. Right. So moving on to question number four. So this event was only held once at the Olympics, and the participants were judged on the basis of two criteria: distance covered and time spent, both being positive factors which add to your overall score. In the final standings, even though the person who came third had the highest amount of time spent by far, his distance was judged among one of the lowest. It was argued that this person would have had the highest distance too if the way of measuring the distance had changed. So, what strategy did this person who came third employed? So, this is an old event in the swimming category of Olympics, and you need to like there were two criteria you are being judged, right? The time spent underwater and the distance covered, right? So, like, what exactly did this person employ as the strategy? But that turned out to be a no, like that turned out to not help him a lot because like they were measuring distance in a different way. Right? Wait, 10 more seconds on this question. In case I'm going too fast, you can ask me to slow down, please. 5 more seconds. Three, two, and one. So moving on to question number five. In a forgettable clash from 2002, New Zealand thrashed England by 155 runs. However, the match is special for an entirely different reason. During the innings break, a New Zealander walked onto the grass with microphones in place. He asked the crowd to roar, literally roar, ground too, and they gladly obliged. So, what were the sound effects created here used for? It's not a very memorable match, but a New Zealander walked onto the grass and placed some microphones and asked the crowd to growl, and the crowd was very happy to accommodate him. So, like, what identify? You need to give me where these sounds were used. Right.
Does the timeline help?
The timeline will help you. Right. So 10 more seconds on this question. Think of some movies released around that time. Right? So that would help you narrow down your guesses. 5 more seconds. Three, two, and one. So moving on to question number 6 now. Right. So a lot of research has been done on the XY effect in sports. It is said that both teams and players are evenly matched. It is more probable that X will win the match. This has been even truer in some contact sport where X and Y are assigned to the players on average, and on average, referees will score X higher than Y. Some say that X is associated with rage and aggression, while others believe that it's all a myth and X, Y does not matter at all. So you need to identify what is X and what is Y. If it helps, the X and Y both like will belong to the same category. You need to give me two types of that. It's very popular in combat sport, and again, X is associated with rage and aggression. You need to focus on these parts. I think the slides are visible. Please check your. Right. Is it not visible? Can anyone else confirm? Okay, now it's right. 10 more seconds on this question. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. So moving on to question number 7 now. Right. In a 2014 movie starring Ben Affleck, he's playing the role of a husband who is the prime suspect of the disappearance of his wife. The family, which earlier resided in New York, moved to Missouri to support Ben's ailing mother. Ben, being the prime suspect, has his face all over the news. So to help Ben stay undercover, the director wants him to do the scenes with the X dash. Right. Blanks are indicative here. But Ben, being a huge fan of, right, there's some mistake here, right? He wanted to do, right, there won't be a X here. Right, let me correct this. To help Ben stay undercover, the director wanted to do the scene with dash, something dash, right? That's not X. Like, please don't read that as X. But Ben, being a huge fan of X in real life, refused to do so. Right. So this caused the production to come to a screeching halt for 4 to 5 days. It was funny that a grown man could cause such a ruckus over something this small, especially after being paid millions to act. Finally, a compromise was reached, and Ben decided to do the scene with a Y dash. Right. You need to identify both X and Y. Please keep in mind that the first blank where there's X written, that is not X. Blanks are indicative here, so if like the blanked out word is of 3 letters.
So he was a fan of X or Y.
He was a fan of X, and like originally they wanted to do the scene with a something dash dash, right? But then he had to finally like he was a big fan of X, so he did not want to do it with the originally proposed thing, right?
You want the
So
originally proposed thing is Y
I
or
don't
Y is
want no, I don't want the originally proposed thing. I want the finally what he did, like what he used for the movie, and what like, what is he a fan of? Right. You need to give me that to make it clear. Sorry for that mistake again. Right. So to make things clear, right, you need to give me X is what Ben Affleck is a fan of, and uh, Y is what he finally did the scene with. Right. Originally, he was asked to do it with something else, but due to his affiliation with Team X, he did not want to do it with the originally proposed thing. So he finally did the scene with Y. He needed to identify his favorite team X and Y. Right.
Sahil, so the after the Y, the blank is also three letters only, right?
Yeah, both the blanks are indicated. It's the same thing. If it, like, I'll give you that.
And you
Uh,
don't need blanks in the answer. I'll just clarify again.
Huh?
You don't need the blank in the answer.
No, I don't want the originally proposed thing. I want the
No, no,
final
the
thing.
blank, the three blanks that you have mentioned. Do you want that in
You
the
can
answer or
you can give me that as well if you want to. Right. Like it will just complete the statement, right? You can give me that as well. There would be no
uh,
negatives if you don't give me.
any hints if no one's blocking?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give a hint if no one's blocking. I guess no one blocks.
Blocking,
So,
blocking, block,
all
block,
right,
block.
there's a block, so keep that in mind. So 10 more seconds on this question. A bit confusing because of the mistake there, but keep that in mind. In case anyone needs any clarification, they can again, like I'll come back to this again later. Right, 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So moving on to question number 8. So this graph shows in statistical terms how absurd the history of this sporting entity has been, as noted by Reddit users. I think I'm right in saying that we can extrapolate this data to determine that if Truss's time in the office would have lasted as long as Johnson's, we would have seen approximately 48.6 of this. Good thing she resigned. Another remarked that during Boris Johnson's reign, on top of that, nothing was being played for a while as we were in lockdown while he was PM. So that makes this graph even crazier. So what is represented on the x-axis? Here's the graph. So on the y-axis you have the prime ministers of Britain, and there are numbers in the graph, right? So you need to identify what is on the x-axis, what is the scale. We'll stay on the graph for 10 seconds, then we'll move back to the text. Right, 5 more seconds.
Can you go to the question slide again?
Yeah, going back to the question slide now. See, what is given here is like fairly common nowadays, but like this voting entity takes it to the next level, the extreme end of it. Right, 5 more seconds on this question. Three, two, and one. So moving on to question number nine now. Right, few contemporaries of X in 2008 celebrated his celebrated the birthday of this legend of the sport on the fourth day of his birth month. The birthday was celebrated 23 days in advance to commemorate an achievement of X. So one of the contemporaries of X present at this dinner gave a Man of the Match award performance in in a match that is now remembered for X's shortcoming, probably the most over-analyzed performance of the sport. Right. So you need to identify X and why the birthday was celebrated early. I'll give extra hints if someone wants. Okay. And of course, if no one's blocking.
Uh,
Hints,
could
please.
you repeat the hint you mentioned at the end?
No, I did not mention any hints. I was saying just thing. If no one's blocking, I'll give a hint.
Yeah, hints, please.
Yep. So I'll give you a hint. So so 2008 was a landmark year, right? In whatever the like birthdays we are talking about. It's a landmark year. It could be a 10 year, 25 year. You need to identify that. Right, it's a landmark year. And right, so like many people were present at this dinner, many contemporaries were like one of them did very well in a match, but for that match, everyone just remembers what X missed out on. Right. Instead of like the contemporary is often like oversighted now. Right. Because like what the match is now only recognized by that performance, like that shortcoming. So you need to identify X and give me why this birthday was celebrated early. Wait, 10 more seconds on this question. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So moving on to question number 10 now. Right. So the word X, long predating its 1997 occurrence, in a totally different context, occurs in some English place names and seems to come from an Anglo-Saxon origin. A street in Lower Cambrian, Cambridgeshire, England, is named X Lane, supposedly after a type of nearby dry ditch called X. Fans have been known to visit this area a lot. To identify X, which now stands for a very popular sport millions around the world have seen or read about. So the location like, of this X is like will give you a hint. The timeline will give you a hint. You need to narrow your guesses down and give me. Right, 10 more seconds on this question. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So moving on to question number 11 now. Right. So here's the usage of a popular phrase X. Norm. Norm says, well, folks, we are here on the 18th hole, and Tiger Woods is having a great day, putting the balls pretty much everywhere, wherever he wants to. Yes, indeed. He's given a brilliant performance here, Norm. But do you think that he has got what it takes to emerge victorious? Of course, Steve. Tiger is a clutch performer with dash, with X, right? So the phrase X, right? So here goes up, he goes to finish up the night, right? So the phrase is also commonly used in the corporate setting, as most companies have a handful of exceptional employees with X who routinely defy odds to deliver a deal or close a sale. You need to identify the popular phrase X, very popularly used in sports, very closely associated with clutch performers, right? You need to defy the odds, right? So players who are generally very clutch and defy the odds, they are given they are addressed to by this phrase. So you need to identify this phrase. Ten more seconds on this question. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. So let's move on to question number 12 now. Right. So here are some subheadings of a certain technique explained by popular mechanics. So the first heading, the heading goes by mind the wind and where are you throwing? Get a grip, find your angle, forget your frisbee skills, aim higher, use some fancy footwork, throw and spin and catch. Right. So though not a recognized sporting event, what equipment does these instructions refer to, which you might have seen at the Sydney Olympics, 2000 Olympics, right? So these are some instructions given on the online platform, that is Popular Mechanics, and these are the subheadings. So you need to identify what equipment does these instructions are referred to. Right, 10 more seconds on this question. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. So let's move on to question number 13 now. Right. So you need to connect these. So these are four different things of a similar type, right? So you need to identify what is like how are they connected, right? So there's a photo. The on the left hand side you have one photo, then the center two combine, the third two combine on the right side, and the bottom two combine.
So are you looking for a person's name or a sport?
Uh, this is part of a sport. I'll say that.
Okay,
Right. It's
thank you.
not a person name. It's not a sport.
What did you say again? Not a sport, but
It's these are all part of a sport.
okay.
try to frame some names from these images and then think of how are they all fitting together, right? Like how are they
Hairstyle.
all? Yep. Oh my God. Excuse me?
We have to write all the phone names.
No, you don't have to give me all the four names. You just have to give me the connect. I don't think I can give much hint in this question except for like just think like what words can you make from these images and like you'll make four different words. Like, you just need to figure out one, two, and see the how they connect with each other, right? And the other hint is of course like they're part of some sport. You need to give me that sport as well in your answer. So 10 more seconds on this question. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So let's move on to question number 14 now. So three crescents make up the symbol of X, which consists of three colors most commonly used on the national flags around the world, symbolizing motion. The three crescents, that comes from Latin, meaning I move, encircling a central point, emphasizes how the X movement brings together all the athletes from all corners of the world. The symbol also reflects the motto, spirit in motion, representing the strong will of every participant. So give X. And what are these crescents called? So X is an entity whose symbol are given by these three crescents. You need to give me that entity X, and you need to give me like what are these crescents called? And given extent that like you can figure out X from the question, crescents will be difficult to figure out. It's more you should know to get it. So 10 more seconds on this question. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So moving on to question number 15 now. This former running back, who played majorly in the Seattle Seahawks for his 12 seasons in NFL, is known for his tough and demeaning nature on the field, known as beast mode. His off-field antics are, dare say, even more popular with him, becoming notorious for not answering or attending to any questions posed by the reporters and maintaining his scary and silent persona. This can be fully exemplified by something that happened in January 2015. Annoyed by his abandonment of the media, he was threatened with a $500,000 fine by the NFL if he did not make himself available for the Super Bowl media day. He showed up, set a timer on his phone, answered 29 questions with some variation of "I'm here, so I won't get fined," and then left the podium within 5 minutes. So you need to identify this athlete. It's a very famous incident, right? Dealing with the media. He did not like to deal with the media, so he just showed up so that he won't be fined. Wait, 10 more seconds on this question. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So we'll be moving on to question number 16 now. So this starts our star mark questions. Right, from here till the last question, 25, all will be star marked, and in case there are some any ties, we'll be using these to settle them. Right. The topics are located at the front end of a figure skate. They are small, saw-like bridges at the front of a skate that assist figure skaters in executing their tricks, jumps, and lands on the ice. In the initial two seasons of the show X, prominent female figure skaters were paired up with male partners. The male contestants, despite being familiar with the terrain, were seen to succumb to the dreaded topic and were seen falling hard. So, who were these male contestants? Also, the title of the show X was a nod to a historic match from the 70s, albeit from a different sport. So, you need to identify the reference from the 70s as well. So 5 marks each for like who are these male contestants and what is the name of the show. Like you don't need to give me the name of the show. You just need to give me the reference from the 70s after which the show was named.
So the show is named exactly after the reference from the 70s.
Not exactly. There are some minor changes, but I don't want those. Like I just want the reference from 70s. That's it. Like three of the words will be same, and the last word is different for the show. So the four words, you need to identify that. Reference from the 70s, not from the same sport. It's from a different. No, I need the first part as well. No, like who were these male contestants? Like there were something common about them, so you need to give me that. What was common about them? Wait, 10 more seconds on this question. Think of some prominent matches from the 70s. And think of something that fits the bill here. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So moving on to question number 17 now. So the following is an excerpt from an article tributed to X in 2022. Something of this mode of the wrong way round rightness is elicited by the epic Y's dash against France in 1997. Y eschewed the obvious angle with his left foot by swerving the ball like an outswinger round the outside of the defense, rather than curling it like an in-swinger round the other side. That was a one-off. X did it repeatedly. So you need to identify both X and Y. So this is taken from an article that was tributed to X in 2022. So they're talking about something that Y did against France in 1997, but that was just a one-off. X did it repeatedly. So you need to identify X and Y.
There's a blank after Y, right?
Yeah, there's a blank after Y. Of course, it's not indicative. Like, why did something against France? And like, they blanked them. Right. So 10 more seconds on this question. 5 more seconds.
Any
3.
hints for X?
Any hints for X would be, I think, right, again, the timeline
Block,
is
block,
very
block.
important. Right. I did not give any
Okay.
extra hint. I just,
Timeline is in that X was also
timeline
from
is important.
1997 era.
Even that would be important. I give you that. Right. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 18. The I think there's something wrong here. It's the same question. Let's move on. We'll come back to this question number 18, right? So, right, I think it got repeated. So, anyways, so question number 18. This tennis player, the image follows in the next slide, was the Wimbledon ladies single champion in the year 2000 something, right? So she has been a Wimbledon lady champion in some time nearby, right? At the age of 19, she took a significant step in her life, which also helped her to obtain financial support for her career. However, something that she couldn't have known at the time was that she wouldn't have been eligible to play in this Wimbledon that she won if she hadn't done this. So, like, this eligibility was just specifically for this particular tournament, right? That she won. So throughout this Wimbledon, she she faced a lot of heated questions from the press regarding her ethnicity, as well as views on a non-sporting topic. This was the first and only Grand Slam up to now that she had to deal with this. When she eventually became the champion, some find it amusing and ironic, while others were just furious at this outcome. So, what was her ethnicity, or what caused these reactions at the Wimbledon Championship? And what decision did she take at the age of 19, without which she wouldn't have been eligible for playing this tournament? I need both. What was the decision, and what is her ethnicity, or like what was causing these reactions at this Wimbledon Championship?
Do you have the image?
All right, we'll move on to the image. So you can recognize the tennis player from this image.
What
Right,
do you
five more
mean
seconds.
by the first part, Sahil?
What do you mean by?
The first part of the question.
The first part, the ethnicity part, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like something about her like nudged the press, right? She was being asked a lot of heated questions and like because of some her ethnicity, right? So because of her ethnicity, she was being asked a lot of heated questions in the press during this Wimbledon run. So like you need to give me the ethnicity or just like give me the funda. Why are these reactions occurring at Wimbledon? So that's why the year is not given. No, it's a very big hint. We give you that. So this is the play, and then we'll go back to the question. Right, so 5 more seconds on this question. I'll move back to the text. Right, so 3, 2, and 1. So question number 19 now. So while playing in a golf tournament in the 1980s, this golfer hit his ball near a evergreen tree. The foliage and the positioning of the ball made it hard for him to hit the ball while standing straight upright. So he had to change his form in order to hit it. But in doing so, he accidentally ended up breaking the rule that said that a player can place his feet firmly while taking his stance, but he must not artificially build a stance. So while his act went unnoticed by most of the by most, like everyone present at the tournament, no one noticed it. But a viewer at home called up the tournament organizer and reported him. He ended up getting disqualified for the tournament and losing out on a lot of cash money. So what rule did he like? How did he? What did he do that he ended up breaking this rule that you must not artificially build a stance? And like, how was that very like? How was it so subtle that no one even figured it out? Like only some nosy viewer at home like, could figure it out. Like, that is breaking a rule.
Do you want a general funder or like very specifically what did he do?
Uh, like I would need one word on a. I would need one word there in the answer. Right? You can give me the funda. It's difficult. Like I don't think you can just give me the funda. You'll have to pinpoint it a little bit. Like basically, give me the how is he artificially building a stance? Like he of course had to change his stance. He can't stand upright there wherever the ball goes. Right? He changed his stance, but in doing so, he did something that is like that comes natural to him, but like, he ended up building an artificial stance. But like no one noticed it at the tournament and the organizers, no one noticed it. But a viewer at home noticed that and he called up the organizer and reported. It was very subtle. Like you need to give me that. Like what could be that subtle that no one noticed it? 10 more seconds on this question. Right. Let's move on to the next question now. Question number 20. So X could put the ball in the basket with three guys hanging off his arm and some guy biting him on his shin. Now take everybody away, and he's like the basket is moving. These were the commentators' words on a freakishly athletic basketball player X and the flaw in his game. Technically, X would never have this flaw in the first place had a rule not been implemented by the NBA to stop the players like him from being 100% accurate in this aspect. The rule was implemented while he was in college, and during a game, he casually showcased his immense strength and did a dash. So, in another contest, the same act would yield him 50 points. So identify X and what did he do, or like what did the rule say? Straight, right? Like because of him, a rule came up. So you either give me the rule or what did he do like in that practice game in college? The blanks are not indicative here. Right. The first part could probably give you the hint like what he's not good at, and then like what he did. You need to give me what he did to like accommodate that, right? Do not let that be his peak.
What do you mean by in another context, the same act would probably yield you 50 points? As in within the same sport or some other sport you're saying?
It's in the same sport, but a more friendlier contest than that. It's like mm, how would I describe it? It's not the normal gameplay there. Like, yeah, like if people block, you can still ask for clarification. That's fine. I won't give any extra hints. Right, so 10 more seconds on this question. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So let's move on to question number 21 now. So this is a quotation from a driver, right? From an F1 driver. So let's read the quotation. So he says that I bitterly regret my actions to follow the orders I was given. My situation at Renault turned into a nightmare. Having dreamed of being a Formula One driver and having worked so hard to get there, I found myself at the mercy of Mr. Briatre. His Briator, right? So his true character, which had previously only been known to those who had treated who he had treated like this in the past, is now known. Mr. Briator was my manager as well as the team boss. He had my future in his hands, but he cared nothing for it. By the time of Singapore GP, he had isolated me and driven me into the lowest point I had ever reached in my life. Now that I am out of that situation, I cannot believe that I agreed to the plan. But when it was first put to me, I felt that I was in no position to refuse. So who is this driver? And what orders did was he given by Mr. Briator? So all the hints are there in the quotation. You need to figure out like what incident are we talking about in this quotation, and of course, give me the driver. 10 more seconds at this question. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. So let's move on to question number 22. So when Britain hosted the All England Badminton Championship for the first time after World War II, India sent two of its players to the tournament, Prakash Nath and Devendra Mohan. Prakash Nath was renowned for his agility and stroke making, whereas Devendra Mohan was known for his power hitting. Both were expected to reach the finals. However, as there was no seeding, they were pitted against each other in the quarterfinals after they got through the initial round. So all they desired was for an Indian champion. It did not matter who it was. So they did a coin toss and Prakash Nath won. He proceeded with ease to the semifinals and was favourite to win the finals. So, however, on the morning of the finals, the headlines of several newspapers left him in despair. The match became an afterthought, and reaching home was his priority. Nath lost the final. So, what was the news that Prakash read on the morning of the match? Right. So something happened, and he had to go back home immediately. Right. So he needed to identify what happened. Try to be specific about it. Don't like if you're very general about it, we'll give you only half marks. And if you point out a more specific thing, we'll give you full marks. Right. So 10 more seconds. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. So let's move on to question number 23 now. So in the 2012 Summer Olympics, a certain mishap caused a lot of controversy over the outcome of a fencing match. The root cause of the controversy was owing to the fast-paced nature of the game and a certain human bias. So after a lot of deliberation, the match resulted with the victory of technically the loser of the match, who went on to win the final, who went on to finally win the silver medal. As a consolation, a special medal was offered to the loser of the original match, but was turned down by the athlete. To identify what problem had occurred, that was very uncharacteristic of the gear used in the matches of such a high profile. Right. So this match happened. The result was very close. Right. So like someone that like, the controversy was due to the fast-paced nature of fencing and a certain human bias. Right. They to identify what difficulty occurred here, and that led to the one who was technically the loser to win and the other to lose the match. Like I give an extra hint that like the gear used was not on the players, right? It was on the referee, right? So that led to, of course, human bias as well.
Could you repeat what you said?
That like we're talking about uncharacteristics of the gear or the gear used in such like matches, right? Such high profile matches. So the gear being talked about here is not on the players; it's on the referee. And of course, like that's why the human bias that is being talked about in the game comes into the picture. The root controversy was the fast-paced nature and the human bias. 10 more seconds of this question. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. So let's move on to question number 24 now. Right, the following Yu Han's 104-meter javelin throw in 1984, several changes were made to the javelin. The center of gravity was moved forward to stop it ascending, and the tape was modified to be more blunt and less aerodynamic. Since then, no athlete has been able to beat Yu Han's throw. In 1956, a Spanish athlete used a different technique in javelin throw, which allowed him to beat the world record at that time by more than 20 meters. This technique, borrowed from another sport, was banned immediately by the IAAF. So, what was this different technique, and why were these changes made or the technique being banned? Like, so in the first paragraph, we talked about changes being made to the javelin, and in the second, we talked about the technique being banned. So, like, they both have like, why are they both being banned or like, changed? And you also need to give me the different technique that is being talked about in the second paragraph. All right, 10 more seconds of this question. Five more seconds. Three, two, and one. So let's go to the final question of the set. So in 2016, the Bundesliga conducted a charity game of football called the Champs of Charity. Champs of Charity is a short form for Champions of Charity. Right? So in the match, Michael Schumacher led team locked horns against the tall German icon X's team. So X is a tall German icon, and he was against Michael. He was pitted against Michael Schumacher's team. So while Michael Schumacher's team was represented by the Keep Fighting Foundation, X played for his own charity. Nico Rosberg, Sebastian Vettel, Miroslav Klose, and Lucas Podolski were among the big names for the charity match, but it was X who stole the show with his hilarious antics. When a penalty was given to X's team, he stepped up to take it and tried to imitate an iconic penalty run-up in 2016 Euros that ended up with the same result as the person who originally did it. So you need to identify who X is and the penalty run-up being talked about here. Right, for the penalty run-up, you either give me the name of the person who did that penalty run-up, or at least give me the circumstance where it happened. Right. basically the situation of the match where it happened. Yeah, we'll have a very short, brief rerun, so like you don't like put wrong answers in front of wrong number question numbers, like just to check that. And like in case someone has any doubts at any question, so like we'll stop there if you want to. So 10 more seconds. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. So that brings us to the end of the quiz. Let's have a very brief review, right, before going to the answer. So question number 25, right? The Bundesliga match, charity of champions, and you need to identify X, at all German, and the penalty run-up being talked about. Question number 24. So what is this different technique described in the second paragraph? Borrowed from another sport, and what are these changes? Like, why are these changes being made, or the technique being banned? Right. So we need both that part. Question number 23. So identify the problem that occurred here due to the fast-paced nature of the game and a certain human bias. Question number 22. So like, you don't need to give me the exact headline. You need to give me like about what did Prakash read in the morning, read in the newspaper on the morning of the match that made him return immediately home. Right. Question number 21. So who is this driver? The very long quote, very famous incident in F1, and what orders was given to him by Mr. Briator. Question number 28. So you need to identify the basketball player X, and what did he do, or like what what does the rule state now that is being brought up? Right? So question number 19. So how did he end up breaking the rule? Like he accidentally created an artificial stance, which he wasn't allowed to do. No one was able to notice it except for a viewer at home. Right. Question number 18. So this is the athlete, and something about her ethnicity caused a very big reaction at the Wimbledon Championship. You really need to give me that. And what decisions did she take at the age of 19 that helped her like actually play in this championship? Otherwise, she would not have been able to. She would not have been eligible to play in this. Right. Question number 70. Right. There was some error here. Like, question number 17. So the following excerpt is from an article attributed to X. You need to give me X and Y. Y did something against France in 1997. Right. He did it just once. X did it repeatedly. Question number 16. So who were these male contestants, and give me the reference from the 70s. Question number 15. Identify the athlete. Very famous for not addressing the media, and he was being fined by the NFL. So just to not to be fined, he just answered to 10 questions by the British around. I'm here, so I don't get. Question number 14. So three crescents make the symbol of this entity. So you need to give me X, and what are these crescents called? Question number 13. For all things there, so part of a sport, and you need to give me what are how are they connected. Question number 12. So like a general ballpark, like they're not connected by a very particular thing. General ballpark of what are. Question number 12. So, what is this equipment whose technique is being described here? You might have seen it in the Sydney Olympics. Question number 11. Very popular phrase used to define clutch performers and players who do very well under pressure. Question number 10. So, like its popular occurrence, it came into popular, like, it became popular after 1997, but before that, this word existed and it was used to, it has, it was a type of adage in this location in England. So you need to identify what is X. Question number 9. So birth of uh, the birthday of a legend of the sport, and he like the his achievement is being commemorated. Like, so you need to identify why his birthday was celebrated early. That is commemorating his achievement, and give me X. Question number 88. This is the graph. On the y-axis, you have the prime ministers of Britain. On the x-axis, you need to identify what is on the x-axis. Very absurd for a very absurd history of this sporting entity. Question number 7. Right. So, what did Ben Affleck refuse to do the scene with something? So, I think the right. So we have a power outage here. So I'll be blacked out. So anyways, we'll continue. Right. So in the 2014 movie, so starring Ben Affleck, so he refused to do the scene. So like they had to replace it. Right. Moving on to question number, you need to give me his favorite team and what did they replace it with. Moving on to question number 6. You can submit now. Moving on to question number 6, right? A lot of research has been done. X and Y. X and Y would be kinds of complements each other, right? Because not complements. It's like, uh, let's not give a hint now, right? So X and Y, same type, same category, or like two different types of it. Right. The light is out again. It's back again. Right. So question number 5. Very forgettable clash from 2002. New Zealander walks to the ground and creates some sound effects. So where were these sound effects used? Question number 4. Strategy employed by the person who came in third in this Olympic event. Question number 4. Question number 3. Pneumatic devices. So why are they being put under the training pitches of Boca? Question number 2. Identify this very aptly named horse, like which might not have started the sporting lingo, but of course made it popular. And question number 1, the first question of the quiz, identify this technique. Originally from baseball, but now in football, volleyball, and cricket. Right, so let's read any doubts. You can leave the meet, but we'll have a answer discussion soon. Right. So right now it's 8:06 in my clock. We'll be closing the window at 8:07. So please all submit your answer sheets now. G form. Question number 13, an extra hint. I don't know. I don't really know how can I give a hint in the connect. Just you have to frame words after from the two images and just see how are they connecting with each other. Right? So let's wait for some time here. 30 more seconds. Please submit your answer sheets. Answer sheets. G form. Right. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So the window is closed now. So now we can discuss the answers. Hopefully, every one of you has submitted the answers. So let's go ahead. You can unmute and give me your answers as well. Take your guesses. So question number 1, any guesses?
Knuckleball.
Knuckleball will be the right answer. So knuckles are being used to deliver this ball. So the knuckleball. Right. Question number 2.
Upset.
Upset is the right answer. So the horse was named Upset, and so Upset, Man of War. Right. A very popular race from 1999. Right. So question number 3. Use of the pneumatic device.
The pitch was vibrating because the crowd makes a lot of noise. So Boca Juniors had, put it in the. I mean, not exactly
Right.
vibrating, but it kind of like just an effect that way. So.
Right, excellent answer. So they just mimic the shaking of the ground. I just felt at the Bombonera, Bombonera during matches, right? So Boca Juniors, you can actually feel the rumbling there of the crowd. So it's very unnerving for the players that come there for the first time. So that's why to mimic that shaking, they put these pneumatic devices in the training pitches. Right. Question number 4. Any hints of like any guesses for what?
Was he running from the outermost lane?
No, you said swimming.
No, this wasn't a running
You said swimming, right?
event.
So
Yep,
I was
so I
thinking
said swimming.
open air swimming. So somebody took a shortcut and something like that, maybe.
No, this wasn't open air
Oh,
swimming.
then was he swimming from downstream to
He
upstream?
was swimming up against the tide, so that's taking longer time actually, and like
No, not
going-
exactly. Any other guesses? Excellent guesses, but not the correct answer. Right. So basically, the distance were being measured as displacement. So the event is underwater swimming. So this person, the person who came in third, just swam in circles. So, but the distance was being measured in straight line. So that's why he ended up not covering any distance. But on the time part, he did spend the most time in the water. Right. So question number 5 now. Any guesses?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Can you give me the part? I'm sorry?
Lord of the Rings intro.
No, not the intro.
Is this
Battle
the
of
This is
war
the
scene?
or
Lord
it's
of
the
the Rings.
sound.
I don't want the battle. I just want
It was
the
a
movie.
fighting scene.
I'm sorry?
They used to mimic orc
Just around here is
noises.
fine, right?
Just Lord of the Rings is fine. I want the particular movie as well.
Return of the King.
The Two Towers.
Two Towers is right. Right. So I'll give you some points for Lord of the Rings as well. And like, in case there's a tie, we'll give more marks to Two Towers. Right. So Lord of the Rings is the excellent answer. New Zealand, the first movie that comes in mind is Lord of the Rings. And 2003, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers came out. So that's why. He was like basically the war of the battle. He wanted some sound effects for the battle. So he took sound effects from it. Right. Peter Jackson is the New Zealander being talked about.
Red
Right,
and
question number 6.
Red and blue.
Red and blue is the right answer. So in combat sport, of course, one team wears red, one person wears red, the other one wears blue. Red is of course red of course wins more than the blue for some reason, and people have tried to attribute it to rage, but it's, some people say it's just a myth. Right, question number 7.
This is
Is it the
a
New York
Red Sox
Yankees
and
and
Mets.
the
Red Sox cap and the Yankees cap.
New York
Yeah,
Yankees.
red,
Because he was a Red
It's
Sox fan.
Mets.
right. So
Red Sox and Mets.
Red Sox and Mets is the right answer. So basically, Ben Affleck is a very big Red Sox fan, right? So in movies, whenever you are trying to cover your identity, you just put on a baseball hat and you're invisible. So basically, the director wanted him to put on a Yankees cap. But being a Boston Red Sox fan, he did not want to put on a Yankees cap. So after 4 or 5 days, they finally settled on a New York Mets cap instead of a Yankees cap. So yeah,
Do we
Boston.
get part points for Red Sox?
Yeah, you'll get park points for it. Right.
Cool.
So Red Sox and New York Mets will give you full points. Right. Question number 8.
Watford managers.
What is this the number of Watford managers?
Watford.
Yeah, number of Watford managers is the right answer. So very astronomical amount of managers being changed. Right? So Liz Truss was just there for 50 days, and there were two managers in that as well. So moving on to question number 9.
Is
This
this
is Bradman and 99.94 birthday of Bradman.
Yeah, that is the correct answer. So Don Bradman is the legend of the sport being talked about. And to commemorate his 99.94th birthday, that is of course referring to his batting average, it was done 23 days before his actual birthday. So question number 10.
Quidditch?
Yeah, simple enough. Quidditch is the right answer. Right. So 1997, the first Harry Potter book came out. That is the hint there. Question number 11.
Ice in his veins.
Ice water in his veins.
Ice water in his veins. Ice in his veins all works. Right. So ice water in his veins. Right. Very clutch. Ice cold. Anything works. Right. Anything referring to ice water, ice cold, ice something. It will give you full points here. Question number 12.
This is how to
Boomerang.
Yeah, exactly. How to throw a boomerang. So boomerang from Australia. So that's why you might have seen it in Sydney Olympics, and how to throw a boomerang. These are the instructions for it. Question number 13.
Types of shots in
Moves
basketball.
Euro step,
types of
spiral
shots. Yeah, exactly. The types of shots, basketball moves. So the first one was jumper. The second one being Eurostep. Third was the skyhook, and the fourth one was the fade cut with away being lined out. The fade away. So question number 14.
Or is this Paralympics?
The
Paralympics is
logo.
Paralympics is the entity.
Is it the Agito? Agito.
Agito is the right answer. Perfect answer. So Agitos are the curves being talked about here, right, in the logo. And of course, blue, red, and green being the most occurring colors in the flags. And Paralympics bringing together athletes of immeasurable strength. Right. Moving to question number 15.
This is Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch.
Yep, Marshawn Lynch is the right answer. Right. Moving on to question number 16 now. Sharma question.
Ice hockey players and battle of the sexes.
Excellent answer. So the male contestants were hockey players, ice hockey players. So their skates don't have toe picks. So that's where that led to them falling down again and again. And of course, the name of the show was Battle of the Blades, and it is of course reference to the battle of sexes between Billy and Bobby. Right. So moving on to question number 17.
Why is
Roberto
Carlos?
Carlos and Zidane?
Free kick and Shane Warne X.
Excellent answer. So X is Shane Warne, and Y is Roberto Carlos. So in 2022, of course, Shane Warne passed away. So to just commemorate that, he was being compared to this. So Roberto Carlos just did it once. Shane Warne used to do it in every match. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Question number 18.
Did Syed
Raivani
Modi
changing
die?
from Russia to
Syed
Kazakhstan.
Modi is dead?
From Kazakhstan to Russia, and that's why she could participate in 2022 Wimbledon.
Yep, that is the ethnicity part, and that will give you full points, right? So this is all about 2022 Wimbledon Championship. So Russian and Belarusian players were not allowed. So Elena Rybakina is originally from Russia, but she decided to change her nationality from Russian to Kazakhstan at the age of 19. So that's why she was able to participate in this. And of course, she ended up winning it as well. Moving on to question number 19.
He took support on a tree, let's say, with his head or body.
He put a napkin and kneeled on it so that his pants won't.
Excellent answer, right? So in order to not soil his trousers, he just put down a towel, and he did not even. This thought it did not even come into his mind that it's creating an artificial. None of the people could figure out that it's an artificial stance, but someone called it out, and it was then technically building an artificial stance. So That's why he was being disallowed from the sport, right, from the tournament. Question number 20.
This is Leo
Shaq O'Neal?
Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rule, and you can't hit from too high, basically basket from too high.
Any other guesses?
Is it Shaq O'Neal and like that hacker Shaq? That rule was implemented because of that.
What exactly the rule is? Can you-
So
Like you can't foul like purposely near the basket, so that because Shaq had very low free throw percentage, so they were doing that to him, and we do that they made this rule.
Right. So free throw percentage is the like what was the problem with this guy as well? So any other guesses?
Is he too tall?
sh-
So that's why they
like
implemented the rule for him.
like the rim of the basket should be touched by the ball during free throws.
Not exactly. Any other guesses? So this is Wilt Chamberlain, and he could actually dunk from the free throw line as well. Like he did not need to have a running stance; he could dunk from the free throw line. But because of this, they had to change the rule to make it just free throws. Right? You need to shoot. You can't dunk directly. So after seeing this feat, this rule came up that you can't dunk. You have to throw it. Right? So Wilt Chamberlain and dunking from the free throw line will give you full points. Question number 21.
Nelson Piquet Jr.
PK
Junior
Junior
and
crash
crashing
gate.
on purpose to bring a safety car.
Exactly. That is the perfect answer. Nelson Piquet Jr. and he crashes car at a very specific time that so that like Fernando Alonso could pit just before that, and the safety car came up, and so that was a very favorable strategy, and Alonso ended up winning the race due to this attack. Excellent answer. Moving on to question number 22.
Syed Modi's death.
Lahore communal riot.
Riots due to pre-partition. Prakash Nag.
Right, Lahore communal rights will give you full points.
Lahore and
Communal rights in general will give you full points. We were saying like if you just give us partition of India, that will just give you half points. Communal rights will give you full points. The headlines that he saw was Lahore in flames. So him being living in Lahore, he had to return back to his home immediately, like, before concerning for the safety of his family. Moving on to question number 23.
That timekeeping error that it extended beyond what was the actual time for the bout. So it went
Perfect
to
answer. Right. So the accuracy of the clock was the problem here. So with 1 whole second showing on the official clock, Headman, the winner, made two rapid attacks in succession, and both halted by double touches. Right. The clock in the arena showed 0.011 seconds left on the clock. Because of it, it could not display the decimal points of the second. The timekeeper inadvertently expired the remaining 0.02 seconds, and like the referee reset the clock at 1 whole second again. So like there were just 0.02 seconds left, but the referee, because there were no like limit for keeping it for that little time, kept it back to 1 second, and for which like Headman scored another touch in that 1 whole second and won the prize.
if
So
you
moving on
mention
to-
clock, do we get part points?
You'll get point for that. Question number
So
24.
we used to go round and round like athletes do in discus. And
Spinning the javelin
was it banned because
And
it
the
could have
second
hit anyone in the
has
stands? Or
instability.
Exactly, right. So the first part is right, the athlete would borrow the skill from discus and would run it round and round and then throw it. And the new techniques and the javelin were being modified just for the safety of the safety for everyone. Right. The stadiums where these events generally happen are not bigger than like they're around 100, 120 meters, right? So it would start reaching the audience if this happens, right? So that's why they reduce the distance you can throw with a javelin. Right. Move on to question number 25.
Nowitzki and Zaza.
Dirk Nowitzki and Zaza's.
Yeah, Dirk Nowitzki and Jaga give you full points, right? So there's a video of it. Dirk Nowitzki, very popular basketball player, and he is the Jaga dance. and end up shooting way away from the goal.
Part points for saying Zaza's penalty.
Zaza's penalty, of course, will give you part points for that. So that brings us to the end of the quiz. Thank you everyone for attending it, and we'll be releasing the results as soon as possible. You can give us any reviews you have, and stay tuned for more quizzes from our side.
Is there no finals or how does it?
There are no finals. These is a written round quiz.
Cool.
Thank you.